The video that nobody wants to make. Kristaps Porzingis has been in and out of the locker room during some games since he has returned from having leg surgery. But now Kristaps Porzingis' recent injury news, it is optimistic. I'm not here to scare anybody, but this is now becoming a scary trend that I have seen from our 7'2" Latvian center. And how are the Boston Celtics going to handle Kristaps Porzingis moving forward, knowing that he is, unfortunately, made of glass. But man, do we love him on the basketball court. Let's break down Kristaps Porzingis injury news here on the back half of the show. I'll break down a possible solution, in my opinion. The Boston Celtics obviously tweeted this out during their game yesterday against the Washington Wizards that KP, he left in the first half. He was questionable to return, did not return the second half. And just so nobody gets freaked out here, they're playing the Wizards. They're obviously winning by a large margin. You really don't need Kristaps Porzingis to return to this ball game, but nonetheless, this is not the first time this has happened with KP since he has returned from having that surgery back in June. So before I break down the rest, I just want you guys to send as many good vibes to Kristaps Porzingis as we possibly can, because we know that with a player like KP, knowing that he is a little bit injury prone, he hasn't played more than 50 games since I can't even remember last couple of seasons. If you guys just want to give him some good vibes, send him some well wishes, go on ahead, like this video for me if you want KP to stay healthy. So Porzingis did not return to the Washington Wizards game because he had right heel pain. And this is just pain. This is not like a type of injury. He just obviously is very uncomfortable. And when you're winning and you're beating the Wizards, you don't really need to pull Kristaps Porzingis back in the ballgame. We're already not playing KP back-to-back, so we're trying to take as many precautions as we possibly can. So when KP looks at the trainer and says, hey, I've got this lingering pain going on in my foot, the trainer's probably going to say, why don't you sit this one out? That's just kind of what happened against the Wizards, and it has happened before, because we have to keep in mind that his right heel is not the injury that he sustained in June, when, of course, he did have that tibia that he had to get replaced. He had to get surgery on in the offseason. He had surgery on his left leg, his left foot, so this has nothing to do with the recovery that he's already put in. He just had right heel pain. So it's just something to monitor moving forward. Once again, do not sound the alarm. Do not send any alerts. This is not season ending. He's going to be back. He's going to be fine. But it is a trend that I'm starting to realize it's making me a little bit nervous. And Porzingis even reassured fans after the game, saying that he's completely all right. He banged up his heel a little bit in the first quarter early. Not early, but in the first quarter at some point. I kept on playing. It's nothing major, honestly. It's more like a precautionary thing. So he just wanted to remind guys, all right, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't anything that I continue to hurt in a, not typically a must-win game. KP goes on and says, in the second, when I started, it was pretty sensitive. So I told the medical staff, and they pulled me out of the game. That's why he didn't return. I don't think it's anything major. I've had something similar in the past, something you play through, and it's just a little precautionary tonight. It's not an NBA Cup. It's not a playoff series. You're playing the Washington Wizards on a Sunday afternoon. There's no reason for Kristaps Porzingis to go back in that ballgame. But most of KP's injuries right now are precautionary. So you may see this moving forward in some games when KP, buckles his ankle or maybe throws his arm. They may just take him out because if they feel like this isn't a must-necessary win and KP needs to be in this game, why keep him in? But the trend that I'm starting to notice that's really starting to kind of turn my stomach here is that KP has only played in 7 games this season because he typically doesn't play back-to-back, and neither does Horford. We saw this last season. That's nothing new. But this is now his second time he has left a game and not returned because of an injury. That's not a stat I want to see too often. So if he's only played 7 games and he hasn't even finished 2 of those, he's pretty much played 5 full games so far in the 2024-25 NBA season. And I do not think this is going to keep KP out much longer, but I do think that this is not the last time we have seen Kristaps Porzingis being taken out for precautionary measures. Sometimes you just kind of have to do that. But Kristaps Porzingis did reassure fans, saying, I think I should be fine for next game, which would be on Thursday against the Chicago Bulls. We will see. We have 3-4 days off, so we'll see. But obviously he's feeling fine if after the game he's saying, I should be good. Nothing to worry about. So no alarms just yet, but how many more times is this going to happen? And I have a question here for you guys. Does this concern you? I'm not at the point of it's concerning just yet because KP keeps reassuring us that it is just precautionary of what is happening. And because maybe you don't want to end up in the playoffs again and have to deal without Kristaps Porzingis for how many games in the future. So I'm not concerned just yet, but I do want to know what you guys think. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Next, we are going to break down a possible small trade the Boston Celtics could make if they do want to beef up that center depth, knowing that Kristaps Porzingis, if something does happen to be not precautionary and he does get injured, can Boston jump ahead? And I think you guys are going to like the trade target. Before I jump into that, let me tell you guys about the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm talking about Prize Picks. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And all you guys have to do is just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Not to mention, you can join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million this season in Picksmith. So you guys can see my free square right there. Recently, it was Mr. Patty Mahomes, but now they're going to go to the Joker. A free square pretty much means it is 99.9% guaranteed to hit. If you think Jokic will score 1 point, you automatically win that square. But I'm also going to take Jimmy Butler to have less than 18.5 points. So I like to mix and match here a little bit. But if you guys want to go on ahead and make your Prize Picks, well, they now offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. All you guys have to do is just download the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So since Kristaps Porzingis is taking precautionary measures with his injuries and telling the staff, hey man, I got this little lingering pain, what should I do? Should Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics take precautionary measures and beef up their center depth, knowing the NBA trade deadline is about a month and a half away? Well, I wanted to break down this real quick ahead of the NBA trade deadline anyways. NBC Sports Boston really put this into great words about what Boston is actually eligible to do heading into the trade deadline, because we are facing a lot of penalties being over this tax line. So #1, NBC Sports Boston said the Celtics cannot aggregate contracts in a trade, meaning they cannot combine contracts to acquire a more valuable player. If the Celtics were to move, say, Jaden Springer's $4 million contract, they cannot combine him with Neemias Queta's $2 million deal to hunt a $6 million player. And then #2, the Celtics cannot sign any buyout player who was previously making more than the mid-level exception this season. So when you have that in mind, you now know that the Boston Celtics really are kind of, I want to say, in a basket, particularly in brackets, because there's things you can't do, there's things you can't do. But when you look at the center depth, it's not like they really need to do anything. The only reason why I bring this up is because we played it so safe last year. You played Kristaps Porzingis every other game. Same with Al Horford. You wanted to take the precautionary measures. You had Luke Cornett, Tillman, and Neemias Queta ready to go off the bench in case they needed to start in any ball game. And then, boom, the first series of the playoffs, you lose Kristaps Porzingis for round 2, for round 3, and for majority of the NBA Finals. So now I'm thinking, all right, KP already missing a couple of games this season in rehab, and now he's also missed 2 games with precautionary injuries. Should Boston add a little bit more just to take some precautionary measures? Because I plan on making it back to the NBA Finals, and I do trust Cornett, Queta, Tillman, and Horford. But what if there's somebody else out there, possibly Daniel Theis, that we could bring back in? It won't push us over that line, and he already knows the system. You guys know Daniel Theis, you love him, and the way that I've kind of always thought of him is that, I wouldn't count him as a Celtics legend, but man, oh man, did he love being in a Boston Celtics uniform. Right now, he is playing for the New Orleans Pelicans, believe it or not. He has jumped around from team to team since playing with Boston back in 2021. And his stats are nothing great. They're nothing that's going to stand out here really at all. But It is injury insurance, basically. I'm not even saying bring in Daniel Tyson, start him over Cornette, Cato, or Tillman. I'm just saying if you want a 6'8" guy that has been in a Celtics uniform before, and you could possibly get rid of Jaden Springer's $4 million a year, I think Daniel Theis would be worth bringing in, practicing, getting a feel for the team, just in case 7'2", 7'3" KP goes down. You don't want to play Al Horford back-to-back, and maybe you're not 100% on Luke Cornette, Neemias Queta, and Xavier Tillman going up against a guy in the playoffs. I really like this trade. You're actually giving away $4 million for the Pelicans to Jaden Springer, and then Daniel Theis makes less than $4 million a year, and I think that it would just be an easy, let's just see what happens kind of trade. Bring him back to Boston. As we know, he loved playing in Boston for several years, and he already knows the system. Hell, he's already played with the guys, Jason Tatum, Sam Hauser. He's played with the guys on the team before. So what do you guys think? Should the Celtics bring back Daniel Theis just as an injury measure? I'm not talking about taking KP's starting spot or anything like that, but he's currently the third-string center on the New Orleans Pelicans. Why not come be the fourth string on the Boston Celtics? Like this video if you guys say yes. Bring back Daniel Theis, put him back in a Celtics uniform. That way, if Kristaps Porzingis does go down with an injury, you still got some muscle to put in the paint. And if anything does happen by the NBA trade deadline or anything new with Kristaps Porzingis, I'll break it down right here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. All you guys have to do is subscribe.